This is the best playthrough team for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And instead of making this video easy on myself, I'm gonna lay down some ground rules. The first rule is no Pokemon with base stat totals below 500 are allowed on the team, with one exception. The second rule is no legendaries or paradoxes are allowed on the team. The final rule is that these Pokemon cannot be evolved using gimmicks such as trading. And with that out of the way, let's get into Pokemon number 1, Meowscarada. Meowscarada is one of the 3 broken Paldea starters, with its signature move Flower Trick always critting and never missing. And combining Flower Trick with the Choice Scarf, Meowscarada is gonna outspeed everything and sweep almost every opponent that comes its way. I gave it decent Dark Stab and high crit chance Night Slash, and 2 viable moves being Knockoff and U-Turn. And lastly, for its Terra, I gave it Terra Poison because it resists 4 of Meowscarada's prior weaknesses shown here. Next up on our list, we have Armarouge. On this team, Armarouge is meant to be a setup sweeper utilizing 2 Calm Minds, Psychic Terrain, and then spamming Expanding Force on your opponents. And add a Life Orb on top of all of those boosts, this thing can deal a ton of damage. For its final move, it's using one of the best Fire-type moves in the game, Flamethrower. And for its Terra, I chose Terra Psychic just to boost Expanding Force a little bit more. Our third member on the team is going to be Clodsire. Now, I'm gonna stop you from leaving an angry comment about how Clodsire doesn't have a base stat total above 500. Now, I know Clodsire isn't necessarily a strong Pokemon, but hear me out for a second. The only reason it has a low base stat total is just because he's a slow boy. And for the purpose Clodsire is filling out, he doesn't need to be fast. Utilizing its base special defense stat of 100 and its base HP stat of 130, this thing is an awesome special wall and or pivot mon. With its held item Black Sludge, it makes it way easier to sit in front of your opponent and stall with Toxic. I know I don't normally cover abilities, but if Clodsire has the water absorbability, it becomes an even better switch in being immune to water. He also triples as a hazard spreader using Toxic Spikes to poison the enemies whenever they switch in. And I gave it really solid stab being Earthquake and Poison Jab. And for Clodsire's Terra, it doesn't really matter because he's not going to be the one you want to Terra the most in battle. And for our 4th team member, we have Annihilape. Like Armarouge, Annihilape is meant to be a setup sweeper on this team. If you let Annihilape sit in front of your opponent and use Bulk Up a few turns, then he can absolutely sweep your opponent's team with Rage Fist. The only thing that's stopping Rage Fist is Protect and Normal types, but we can get around Normal types easily using Drain Punch or Close Combat. I gave it the Punching Glove for its held item and a Terra Ghost to further boost Rage Fist. Our second to last team member is Garganacl. This might be a little bit of a stretch, but Garganacl's base stat spread has to be one of the best spreads I have ever seen. Garganacl is a physically bulky rock-type Pokemon, which is really good because now we have a physical wall and a special wall. Garganacl isn't as great of a switch-in as Clodsire, but it's still pretty decent. If you switch into Garganacl after Clodsire has set up Toxic Spikes, you will be having a hazard party with double layers of Toxic Spikes and Stealth Rocks. What's even better is it has the Rocky Helmet, so if any physical moves are thrown at it, it can do chip damage to that Pokemon. If you pair the chip damage from Rocky Helmet with Salt Cure's chip damage, then you can sit behind Protect every other turn and deal significant damage over time. Garganacl's really just here to stall with maximum chip damage, but I gave him Stone Edge just to have some decent rock stab other than Salt Cure. What the hell? Normally in a battle I wouldn't terrastalize Garganacl, but if you did, I gave him Terra Rock just to boost Stone Edge a little bit. And now for our final member, Baxcalibur. This was a pretty easy option in my opinion. He's this region's pseudo-legendary, and his signature move Glaive Rush is incredibly niche but also broken at the same time. But Glaive Rush has a massive downside, being the next turn you take double damage, but this is easily bypassed through Protect, which makes Glaive Rush really, really good. And for its Ice Tab, I gave it Icicle Crash, and just in case it misses, I have Stomping Tantrum just to deal a ton of damage if it does. I really didn't have any broken held item options, so I just gave it a Nevermelt Ice to boost Icicle Crash. I gave Baxcalibur Terra Steel because it removes 3 of its previous weaknesses shown here. So, what are your thoughts on this team? Is it the worst team you've ever seen? Is it the best team you ever seen? Could it use some work? Let me know in the comments. But for now, ladies and gents, I'll see you in the next one.